We are basically testing every single drone. We have a team of people building them, and this is what soldiers are asking me for. Always very excited when they hear that I'm German. Nothing makes me happier than happy soldiers coming back to you that everything is fine. These people mean a lot to you, and you're thinking a lot about of them. Ukrainians are very resilient and very strong. They're very, very careful how they're using drones because they don't want to hit innocent bystanders. Probably in a year or at some point they will be able to use AI drones.
You're watching UATV English. My name is Anna Nytchenko, Brave Hearts. Hello and welcome. And today my guest, Brave Heart, is Tim from Germany. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
You are thinking in Germany, just starting in your country, or going and fighting against Russian aggression? Go and fight against Russian aggression. How it was this decision was accepted, because it was really dangerous to go to another country where is the war, but even trying to help this country, it was really dangerous.
It was not a decision I made. I basically fell into it. I wanted to come to Ukraine for 2 weeks, and now I'm here 1 year and 8 or 9 months. So I always joke that I lost control, and now I'm here. And yes, I have this rule in terms of danger, panic when the Ukrainians are panicking, because usually Ukrainians are very calm, and when Ukrainians are starting to get scared, I know this is bad. But this hasn't happened yet, so I'm just staying very calm.
When you, as you said, lost this control, when was this decision accepted? In what a kind of situation? Maybe someone helped you to make this decision, invited you here?
No, I always planned on leaving, but then I never did it. And then we had the project with drones, and I felt like leaving was no longer an option, because I was daily in contact with soldiers, and I didn't know how to explain to them, basically I'm now gone. You have to talk to somebody else, and I cannot do this, so I will just continue what we are doing right now.
Speaking about what you're doing right now, you are making drones, you are like drone operator. What exactly you doing?
I'm buying all day long parts for the drones. They need a lot of things. I'm checking if they're real or fake, because in China everything is being faked. And I'm talking to units what their needs are, and then planning of how we can meet their needs. And then we have a team of people building them. At the beginning I was also building drones, but now it's more doing other stuff. And then we are testing drones, and we have a very strict quality control. We are looking at everything several times. So when it comes out of the box at the Frontline, it also works in 100% of the cases, because that is actually a problem in Ukraine sometimes, that they're being drones sent to the front and they don't work. They always need some extra work, and we're trying to limit this as much as possible.
What kind of drones you work with?
We are right now doing 7 and 10 inch drones. They are needed in the hundreds of thousands across the front lines. And this is what soldiers are asking me for. And this is also what we deliver in the end, and we are always trying to meet exactly their needs.
And how long you've been learning this operating, making? How much time took you just to understand how this drone work?
It took me a long time because of one very simple problem. Usually the technology we are using is for hobby devices, like for having fun, I don't know, flying drones with your friends. But Ukrainians took that and militarized it. But all explanation videos of how to do this, they are all in Ukrainian, so I couldn't understand it. So I had to watch from American YouTubers. I had to watch how to make drones, and then adapt it to military use. And that took me 2-3 months until that was working. But now it's working on a high level, and I think we're producing a great quality at the moment. And also the drone pilots and engineers I'm speaking to on the front line are always very excited when they hear that I'm German, because they then expect something that is like a German car or a German machinery part.
Just a sign of high quality.
Yes, and that got me to also implement this, because I was like, when they're already expecting this by default, I also have to be able to deliver this.
And what about, you told that lots of videos was in Ukrainian. How you learned, you asked to translate, maybe you learned Ukrainian, like also with learning drones.
No, I haven't really learned Ukrainian yet, but I have learned how to make drones. It's like one or the other thing, but the Ukrainian is slowly coming, but it's a very, very difficult language, and it's very hard to learn it.
I must confess that German is a hard language. For example, for me, I was studying German at school, and I only remember Henry Lorelein. Ich weiß nicht, was soll es bedeuten, dass ich so traurig bin, ein Märchen aus alten. I don't remember Zeiten, das kommt mir, and that's all. But there is a translation, by the way, also in Ukrainian. I think that when you speak language, yeah, I speak Ukrainian and speak English, and it's really easy for me. But German, it's really hard to. It's not a hard language, but it's really hard to learn. Especially, it's hard to learn another language when you're in such a situation, when there is war in the country. How you communicate with Ukrainians who, for example, don't know German, with Ukrainians who don't know English, how you communicate with them, how you understand, for example, when you ask military guys what they need and they give you information, what's like this communication, in what language?
So in general, I use translators, and in shops, I just make zoomed in photos of everything I want, and then I just show them the photos after another. They always smile at that and are laughing, but that works very great. And also sometimes I realize that they don't speak English, but then I try sometimes German, and surprisingly that works. Many Ukrainians speak some level of German. I don't know why, it was very surprising to me, but that's still a thing. And it's also older people and younger people. I think older people learned German because of the friendship of the Soviet Union in East Germany, and some still speak that. They learned it in school like decades ago, and they can still speak it. That every time surprises me. And with the army, it's usually there's like usually it only is about drone parts, frequencies, and that is usually universal. And the army swears a lot, and they were the people who taught me swear words, and that usually works. It's a mix of English swear words and the names for specific drone parts, and that works. But some of them speak very good English, because in many drone units there are people working who worked before in IT, and they usually speak perfect English.
And what is unusual in Ukraine for you?
People are driving here very, very fast. You're eating a lot of pork meat and pork fat. That was surprising, because I thought this only Germany is doing that, but Ukraine is also doing that. And Ukrainians all are very, very friendly and very, very open to foreigners, especially from Western Europe. And that actually amazes me every time, that they're very, very interested in Western Europe. I didn't expect that before. And Ukrainians have always a very hands-on approach. They don't really think a lot before they do something, they just do it. While in Germany, it's always like, we have to plan this, maybe this could go wrong, or this could be a problem, but in Ukraine, it's just like, let's do it. And they're very, very effective in that. Speaking
about drones, speaking about high quality, German quality, yes, high quality, it's really expensive to make a high quality thing, drone, it depends. How you find all the details, how you find people who work with these drones just to complete these?
So most of the people working here and volunteering are former electricians, so that already prepares them very, very good for it. And usually when somebody is showing it, you can work this quite quickly. The only problem is when you have to find everything out on your own, but the knowledge you have after that is way better. You have a deeper understanding of it than when somebody just tells you, please do this. And yes, the parts are nearly all coming from China, but you still have to work with them in a good way and make everything very clean and looking good and precise. And it's also about finding the mistakes the people did in China and replacing these parts and not accidentally sending them to the front lines.
By the way, we're sitting near the reason we don't make drones. Why?
That was a joke at the beginning, because when you go to some stores and buy screwdrivers and soldering irons and other parts for making drones, the people in the stores usually know what you're about to do from what you're buying, and they were always very confused that we are foreigners and we were buying these very specific things you just need for making drones. And then they always asked, like, are you going to make drones? And we were always like, no, because we at the beginning didn't really want to tell anything about this project. And so we had always a joke, we don't make drones. And they always smiled because they knew exactly what we were about to do.
That you are really making drones, making drones. Can you describe the drone you showed? How long can this drone fly? What kind of camera sensors it has? Just describe it.
So the drones we are making are usually made for longer ranges, and that is 20 kilometers plus. We are buying batteries for them, and we have a team of people making the batteries for them so they can fly that long and that long distances. And we are usually paying a lot of attention to all of the devices in the drone that are transmitting or receiving a signal. They have to be from a very high quality so the drone can actually survive a little bit better in an electronic warfare environment.
How it works in winter, in summer, it depends on wind, on sun, temperature?
So we had no problems with summer and it being hot, but I'm expecting problems coming into winter. We will need to buy better batteries, even better, and what we are right now using for short range will not be any longer be okay for shorter ranges. And yeah, it's just when it's cold, lithium ion batteries are just not working very well. But we are already in the process of changing that, and we will have this implemented, and then it gets cold, and we don't expect any problems with that. But it's a thing I'm talking to drone operators and engineers and drone units about, so we don't run into problems.
How much time you need, how long you should test your drone before sending to Frontline?
So we are basically testing every single drone if the components are working, or if somebody in China did a mistake and we bought a broken component. And then we are testing drones from, like individual drones from the batches, just to make sure there's no problem we haven't seen or we missed something. And then people are looking at the drones while they're being packaged, if every screw is on there, if everything looks good. And then we are sending them off, and we are achieving a rate of success that the drone is ready for takeoff when it arrives at the front line of 99%. We don't really get to 100%. There can always be a problem, but I don't get any complaints currently from the Army. They're usually happy. And that also makes me very happy. Nothing makes me happier than happy soldiers coming back to you that everything is fine.
What they send you video, photos, they send you message, something, and say, yeah, it was great. How it's like this communication when you understand that the drone did his mission?
So they have to, because we're a charity, they have to give reports on how they used the drone, and they have to send basically the on-screen display videos of every single one, so we can see what exactly did they do. And we also analyze these videos to see what we can do better. And sometimes they send me photos from their workshop or from what they're doing and from how their setup is, also for me to get a better understanding of what their situation is. And they're sending us sometimes things back from the front lines. For example, we got the end pieces of mortars. They're working very, very well for holding soldering irons. And they don't need them because they don't need the end part of the mortar to put it under a drone. The fin is not needed because it doesn't like being shot out of this barrel. And they're sending pictures of them, so we also have like a face to them. And yeah, they're very, very nice. The only thing I still have to get my hands on are the military non-stop energy drinks, but I will probably ask in the next days for that. Maybe they can send me some. And we also sent them sometimes sweets. I think I sent some guys one time cigarettes, and yeah, but I mean, it's you're building. It's not a friendship because you don't see them, but these people mean a lot to you, and you're thinking a lot about them.
I'm just listening to you, and it's just like, wow. I tell to every foreigner that Ukraine has to protect herself, but you didn't have to go to this country to protect these people, to protect Ukrainians, but you came and you do such a great job. It's a great job, and you are just happy when this job is successful. I don't know. It's like understanding that Ukraine has so many friends in such different countries, different cultures, different languages, but we communicate, we understand each other, and we are really, it's a great friendship. I think after the victory of Ukrainian victory, it'll be, I think, maybe more grateful friendship between these countries, between these friends. I mean, I'd like to ask you about the victory of Ukraine, how you can see it, how you imagine it.
I think it is still a long way, and I think it will also be a hard way, but Ukrainians are very resilient and very strong, and I think through that strength and not giving up, they can achieve that, and I also think that they will achieve it. But it is. I mean, for the soldiers, it is still a very, very long and hard way, and also a very difficult thing for Ukrainian society. But I don't see any signs of Ukrainians giving up. This is something I never encountered. Even when I hear from units I talked to on the phone that they have huge problems, people getting wounded and dying, under all of these messages, there's always another sentence that says, we are working as usual, and we are continuing as usual. So please send more drones. We will be able to use them. It doesn't matter what happens. This strikes me every time. Like every time you hear about this problem happened. We had a few months a soldier who lost one of his best friends. And I asked him, like, how are we continuing? What is the next step? And he said, no, it's the exact same thing like a week ago. We will just continue doing our job.
What is the hardest thing for you?
The hardest thing is sometimes that you wish you could help them more, but there is no other way. Like I cannot kill Putin. That is, the FPV don't fly long enough. I'm not that good of a pilot. I cannot do that. I don't even know if that would work. You just send the drones and hope for the best. And there's nothing really else that I can do in this moment. And there are people, they're working constantly 7 days a week. They don't sleep. I sometimes speak to very sleep-deprived people because I'm getting answers from them, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then I'm like, then I ask them, like, have you slept in the last 48 hours more than 4 hours on end? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I can hear this, and I remind them, you're starting to become ineffective because you cannot think straight. They don't realize it after some point. And this is just hard seeing them suffer. Seeing people and listening to people and talking every day to people suffering. Like, I think this is not what usually people have in their job or volunteer work, that they are constantly speaking to people who have to go through hell. And basically I'm talking every day, all the time, to people who have PTSD, because lots of the drone pilots or people who are just engineers in a house far behind the front, they still were a year ago in a trench and then transition to that because they are being wounded or something. Like, basically, I think I haven't talking to a single soldier who is in drones who doesn't show some kinds of signs of PTSD. That is very, very widespread. And this is, for me, just from empathy, it's difficult that you are constantly involved with people who are suffering.
And what do you feel according to Russian people, Russians, Putin, Kremlin, aggressions, hate?
I don't really think about them. Also, when the drone hits personal or something, this is not really a thing that you think about. This guy died. It's just, for me, it's first of all, it was a success. Everybody did a good job, and it's one problem less. The problem of them dying here in Ukraine is a thing they wanted. Nobody's forcing them to do this as a society. It's when you chose to come here, you chose to die here, you chose to suffer here, and we're just making the device that makes you go home.
And how do you see drone technologies in future, maybe in 5-10 years?
So what worries me about drones is that they will be used in a deadly way everywhere. So I see videos, for example, from Brazil or Mexico that people are using this technology, but they're like 2 years behind. They're doing what Ukraine did 2 years ago. And that tells you that you have to wait 1 year or 2 years, and then it will be widespread that people have the ability and the technology to kill each other with drones all around the world. You will see this in the Middle East, you will see this everywhere, and this is what very worries me, that this is actually spreading, because I wish we wouldn't have to use drones, because they are very, very scary. Also, just test flying them, the sound of them is like haunting, and I'm lucky that I never got targeted by a drone because I'm in Western Ukraine, but that must be extremely scary. And also the trend is that drones are becoming in Ukraine more deadly and not less deadly. Probably in a year or at some point they will be able to use AI drones, auto steering. That is not yet fully functioning, but it is coming. And this is just scary that the human element is then out of it. Before it was always a human steering it, but then it's just an autonomous system that is just hunting for people. And it will be also interesting to see if that actually works and how many mistakes these drones are doing in case of hitting the wrong target. And just this will be bad also for civilians, because a Ukrainian soldier can distinct what target he intends to hit. An AI drone probably not. And I talked to Ukrainian units. They are very, very careful how they're using drones, because they don't want to hit innocent bystanders. They're very, very professional.
What can do this drone? It can destroy tank? It can what?
So I always do this joke that the Ukrainian army doesn't find a target it cannot hit with the drone. Because they're so cheap, the Ukrainian army, at any problem, they're just like, let's first try it with the drone. I have seen drones hitting antennas in trees. And that's how it starts. And then I've seen drones hitting tanks. I have drones hitting personal people on motorcycles, quads, air defense systems. I have seen soldiers who used one of our drones, and they strapped salami under it and flew it to the zero line to drop this, because they got an angry call from their fellow soldiers, and they were like, can please somebody come here and bring us food? And they didn't want to send somebody personally there, so they just took a drone and flew it there. That I have seen. I have seen remote mining. They also just use them sometimes to deprive them of sleep, because the military told me most of the activity is happening at night. And during the day, you're trying to sleep. So what the Ukrainians are starting doing is just attack the trenches during the day, so you cannot sleep. And then you're extra tired the next night. So it's a variety of use, from logistics to everything.
While you are here trying to stop Russian army and fighting against Russian aggression, what's about your family in Germany? What's about your mom? What's about your relatives? What they think about your job? Or if I can say, no, it's not a job, yeah, it's volunteering, but what they think about what you're doing here in Ukraine?
They're like, when I talk to friends who I haven't talked to in some time, they're always very, very surprised what I'm doing. Because one guy wanted to guess what I'm doing right now, and I was like, yes, take a guess, you will not get it. Like, and he took like 20, 30, he was guessing and guessing and guessing. But making kamikaze drones was never on the list. So everybody's very surprised by it, but also very interested. And my family visited me here. My mother visited me here. My sister was visiting me here. She also brought a friend of hers because she's told her friends that she's now going to Ukraine to meet her brother, who is working in a kamikaze drone factory. And there was somebody else who was like, I would like to see that, and like to try to help and do this. And yeah, but my family is very, very supportive. I've heard of other people where their families are very worried about them and doesn't fully support it, but with my one, everything is perfect in that sense.
It's really interesting how they came in here in Ukraine. Mom and your sister, weren't they afraid? Weren't they scared?
I sent them lots of pictures of me in a bar in a restaurant, eating like burgers, drinking beer, and that looked very normal to them, and that convinced them that everything is fine. This is usually my strategy. You just have to you don't have to send the video of where you can hear the air raid alert. I wouldn't advise that. Just pictures of absolutely normal things. I like 99.9% of the life is usually normal. It's just the 0.1% when you listen to your neighbors getting killed by airstrikes. And this is the only thing that is absolutely terrifying and terrible. But otherwise, it has completely normal aspects of life. I go to bars or to the supermarket. I cook like everybody else. It's not this, I'm not being bombed 100% of the day and making drones. They are also completely normal things that I do.
In the end of our interview, I'd like to ask you to say in German something on this camera to people who live in Germany about support of Ukraine, about some sentences about why you do this and why other people, Germans, should support Ukraine.
In German?
In German.
Okay, hallo erst einmal. Und auch vor allen Dingen vielen Dank für die Unterstützung, die aus Deutschland kommt. Man merkt das in den Spendenkampagnen, dass da sehr, sehr viele Deutsche dabei sind, wenn immer der Nachname Müller oder etwas anderes typisch Deutsche ist. Aber ich kann es auch nur empfehlen, hierher zu kommen, mitzuhelfen, mit selber anzupacken. Und ich denke auch, dass in der Ukraine deutsche Freiheit verteidigt wird und ein freies Europa verteidigt wird und die Idee verteidigt wird von einem demokratischen Europa. Und es kann schwierig hier sein und auch die Idee, hierher zu kommen und mitzuhelfen, wirkt verrückt oder komisch, aber einfach anfangen und dann wird es für einen sehr normal.
Thank you, team. Thank you for everything you're doing here, for your volunteering, for your help, for your support. Thanks a lot.
Of course.
UATV English, brave hearts. See you.